Hey. So there have been rumors about Xenoblade 4, new IP, Xenoblade X2 for a while now, but recently there's been some headway as to what could be happening next. And Monolith Soft definitely is working on some big game right now that we could see released as early as next year. So let's talk about what all of this is. The first bit of rumor mill started around January of this year when well-known leaker Nash Weedle had predicted or hinted that Xenoblade X2 was the next game in development, and people are trusting them because back in 2022 they had hinted that Xenoblade XDE was in development a whole 2 years before it was even revealed. So this you might want to keep your eye on. And if we look at the diagram here that they provided, the timeline of the series, it would kind of check out. You will notice a pattern. Look at the most recent 4 games: Xenoblade 2, 1DE, 3, and XDE. And look at the years. Xenoblade 2 came out 2017, 1DE in 20, 3 in 22, and XDE in 25. There's a pattern here. We get a new game roughly every 2 to 3 years, not including the DLC games of Torna and Future Deemed, of course. But it's about 2 to 3 years between every game release, so we could potentially hear something next year about the next Xenoblade game, and then it drops in 2027. And it wouldn't be too far-fetched to think that X2 could be next, as if you see here, we got Xenoblade 2 2017. 3 years later we got XDE or 1DE, and then just 2 years after that we got 3. And this makes sense as Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 3 connects 1 and 2 together, so they would need people to have played 1 to keep up and understand what's happening in 3. So remake that 3 years after the newest game, and then 2 years later drop the game that ties it together. The same pattern could be here for Xenoblade X2, which just 3 years after Xenoblade 3 we get a remaster Xenoblade X. So logically you could think that the next game would be X2 2 years from now, so in 2027, which would warrant Xenoblade XDE being remade this year, as people would need to play X in order to understand and keep up with what's happening in X2. The next bit of traction that this rumor of the new Xenoblade game is in development came from a leaker, a Chinese leaker over on the social media site Weibo, where they had initially said this goodbye is not the end with an image of Xenoblade 3. So that got people speculating that possibly there's going to be a Xenoblade 3 Switch 2 edition, or that we could be seeing something about Xenoblade 4 in particular very soon. But this most likely was just an homage to Xenoblade 3, as this was uploaded, like this post was made on the 3rd anniversary of Xenoblade 3 releasing, July 29th. So, and this goodbye is not the end is a lyric from the ending song of Xenoblade 3, Where We Belong. So this was most likely just an homage to Xenoblade 3 and wasn't really hinting at anything. Though a more promising lead came from the main Xenoblade composer herself, Minami Kiyota. She has been the main composer for the Xenoblade series for every game minus X, of course, 1, 2, and 3, including Torna and Future Deem. She has composed the music. She's been the main composer. And on the anniversary of the 3rd anniversary of Xenoblade 3, she had dropped a tweet saying, "I'm working on a new project together with wonderful creators from around the world. Please look forward to the official announcement." Now mind you, she has worked on other projects, though Xenoblade has been her biggest project and her main focus for the last decade. So a lot of people took this as her hinting at working on music for an upcoming Xenoblade game. However, she did tell people that nothing is confirmed and to wait for Monolith Soft or Nintendo to come out and say anything. Now, Xenoblade isn't the only thing coming to mind for a lot of people, as the rumored new Monolith Soft RPG, the new Monosoft IP being in development, has been circulating for a while now, with the whole legacy code name leak of that. However, this whole legacy thing could actually be Xenoblade all along, and if you think about it hard enough, it would make sense. So the code name Legacy, obviously that could mean if it was a Xenoblade game, it would be a Xenoblade game bringing together the entire series, including X, even though they're not connected. X isn't connected with the main series directly. I'm sure Takahashi could find some way to figure that out, or even on a grander scale to connect Xenoblade with Xenosaga, which has been speculated for the past couple of years now. And I mean, the codename Legacy, that would just, if he were to combine everything in that game, that would show the legacy of Monolith Soft, of the Xenoblade series, of the Xeno meta series as a whole, including Saga and Blade. It could be the legacy of Takahashi's work over the last 30 years with Xenosaga and Xenogears, or Xenoblade minus Gears, unfortunately. But it could mean a whole lot of things for the Xenoblade series. And this would actually go in line pretty well with what Takahashi has said in the past. So after the release of Xenoblade 3 and the Trinity box set, we all know Takahashi left a letter to fans on the box as kind of like a hint at the future of the series. In that letter reading, rather than playing on defense, going on the offense, change rather than maintain. This is a stance that I've continued to hold for 30 years. There is another Xenoblade, it will likely be something vastly different from what came before. In style and in music, I would like to make my next goal something that would betray everyone's expectations in a good way. And this almost kind of debunks that Kyoto is working on the next Xenoblade game, because Takahashi said he wants the style and music to be something that would betray everyone's expectations. People would obviously expect her to return for Xenoblade 4 to compose the soundtrack. However, he could be having someone else compose the soundtrack of this big like Xenoblade Xenosaga combining game. Perhaps he could have Mitsuda come back, or he could have Kaiji come back and compose the music. If y'all don't know, Yasunori Mitsuda composed the music for Xenosaga Episode 1, and the second game was composed by Kaiji Uda, I forgot her first name, and a couple other composers, but the third game was composed by Kaiji Uda herself. So perhaps he could bring one of them two back to compose the soundtrack of this next like Xenoblade Saga game. And if this like Xenoblade and Xenosaga combining game were to be true, if that's what this new game is, it would betray everyone's expectations. No one would really expect that. Everyone's expecting a Xenoblade 4, and it would be vastly different, as he could potentially go back to the turn-based combat system of Xenosaga instead of the action RPG we know Xenoblade as. That would be very different, and no one would really expect that. So this could be reaching, but I mean, there is some evidence to support that this could be like a crossover Xenoblade Xenosaga game. However, none of this could have anything to do with Xenoblade at all, and it could be this new IP that Monolith Soft is working on. Now, rumors for that have been around for a long time, though it seems more promising than ever, since not too long ago, Takahashi shared a series of job listings along with a message on the official Monolith Soft website. And reading from an article here, quote, Takahashi stated that him and his team are recruiting development staff for Monolith Soft's brand new production after a long time. He couldn't go into detail at this time, though he said that the game is a new RPG. The aforementioned title is taking on many new challenges compared to previous Monolith Soft titles. He mentioned that the content to be created is becoming more sophisticated, so the studio needs many talented people, which is why he has shared the recruitment post. And I will link his entire message in the description if you want to go and read it yourself. But a brand new IP would be very different from the challenges that Monolith Soft has faced before, since they have mainly only worked on Xenoblade since they've been with Nintendo. Although they have helped with other Nintendo games, that wasn't ever always the main focus. It was just a small bit of it. They just helped create those games instead of fully worked on it themselves. But here, Monosoft is actually working on a full-on brand new full AAA game, and it would be different from what they've done before if it wasn't a Xenoblade game. So there are a lot of rumors going on about the next Xenoblade game, and it looks like the rumors are recirculating again. So talk about the next game is back on, and hopes are higher than ever. So we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe at the very least we could hear something this year about the new Monosoft game or next Xenoblade game. I doubt it, but next year seems like a good spot to announce something, if not like the end of this year and then release the game mid to late next year. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see, but I'm very excited to see what happens next. But that's about it. See you next mission and play some goddamn Xenoblade.